Overwatch is one of the most difficult games to play, and in this video we're going to take a look at some of the things that Blizzard really need to fix for Overwatch 2 if they want players to come back and invest time into competitive Overwatch. So let's get stuck into this. We've played Overwatch for years, so sometimes it's easy to forget or simply ignore issues with the game. That really needs to be fixed. So in this video, let's go over all of the big problems the devs need to solve if Overwatch's new 5v5 PvP is going to be a success. When you think about it, Overwatch's gameplay is very unintuitive. Let me explain that. Shroud and other top FPS players have tried to play Overwatch in the past. In fact, we're looking at footage in the background of Shroud playing Overwatch. They reach platinum and they end up getting stuck. Now, we know these players are insane gamers. So why do they get frustrated? Why do they fail to advance to the top ranks? And why don't they play more Overwatch? The thing is, it's down to the complexity of the game, but it's also down to the way the game communicates key information to players. So let's take a look at some examples. You die, you respawn, so you rush back to the fight. Now, nothing in the game actually tells players to regroup. This is especially a problem when trying to move through choke points, and I'm certain this is the reason why control is being removed from Overwatch 2 entirely. In fact, the only thing telling players to regroup is other players, and that often leads to rampant toxicity, because being told to stop what you're doing never ever feels good, and often the person telling you to stop becomes overly frustrated when you inevitably rush in and die again, causing them to wait even longer to regroup. Respawning does not mean you should rush back into the fight. Wave respawns could be one solution to this issue. This is the idea of everyone respawning together at the same time. Now, this would be difficult to implement, and I'm afraid, honestly, I don't really have any feasible ideas or ways to do this. But what we do know for certain is that the power of dying together is very strong, because it means you respawn together and then you rush into the fight together. When this happens at lower ranks, fights are won, which is awesome. But most of the time at lower ranks, it's bitty. Players die, they take fights 5v6. Well, I guess in Overwatch 2, it's going to be 5v5, isn't it? So 4v5 and things like that. It's not going to be great. Basically, taking a fight with one less player, you almost certainly lose that fight. But here's the thing. At higher ranks, this often is what differentiates players' skill. If you can identify when to wait, when to regroup, generally by watching the kill feed and having a very good grasp on the match flow, you are a higher skilled player. And maybe that's the way it should stay. How do you know if kills matter? Now, this is a very strange one, because you'd think every single kill matters. If you kill the enemy, that's a good thing, right? Well, you get ult charge, you kill the enemy. Great, these are all awesome. But sometimes you can get kills that have little impact on the fight, and sometimes kills that actually help the enemy team. The best example I can think of is killing Baby D.Va. It's very obvious. You don't kill the Baby D.Va because it helps the player respawn and get the mech back, which D.Va obviously wants her mech. Or killing entire teams way too fast when staggering the kills staggers their respawns, staggers their ability to regroup and to fight as a team again, which runs the clock down, which is a benefit to you, so you'd be better off not killing them as fast. What about killing yourself? Now, that sounds extreme, but let me just go through this. Sometimes it's actually the right thing to do. If your team gets wiped, but you are still alive, it is time to die. You want to sync respawns up and join your team. By not dying, you give the enemy a chance to kill you, which then staggers you and potentially gives them an advantage in the upcoming fight. Now, in a lot of games, you don't want to die. You take any game, you throw it out there, any BR game, let's say Apex Legends, dying is a bad thing all of the time. You never want to die. Overwatch, it's a team-based shooter with heroes with abilities, and dying sometimes is good because you want to be with your team to take the next fight, because of course you respawn. In the Apex Legends example, you obviously don't respawn unless, well, your team respawn you at a beacon, but you get the idea I'm getting at, guys. It's a muddled message they send. You'd think doing damage at any opportunity is a good idea, but sometimes it's really not. You give the enemy healers ult charge attacking players you cannot kill. The concept of effective eliminations is very difficult to convey to players. In most scenarios, you'd think taking every opportunity to damage enemy players is a good thing. It might give allies a chance to finish off the kill. So when do you want to actually damage enemy players? All the time, right? Always take the opportunity to try and kill them. The thing is, though, problems start arising when you're chipping away at a tank, not securing the elimination, but rather giving the enemy healers the chance to build up ult charge through healing the insignificant damage. Or maybe you're a DPS and your ultimate is charged. So, I don't know, you're playing Soldier 76. You've got a full tac visor ready to go. So why bother trying to poke the enemy tanks at range to build your ult charge when you've already got it? Because all you're doing is actually giving the enemy supports ult charge. It's benefiting the enemy team that you do damage. So how do you fix this? Overwatch relies on coordinated attacks. I think that's a fact of the game. If everyone focuses down the same target, I don't know, generally a tank, the chance of securing an effective elimination is much higher. This is where a robust ping, I think, and targeting system comes in. Imagine being able to target the enemy Reinhardt, say, as the main DPS focus. Now, in some ways, Zen can actually already do this with Discord. But again, this is more of a high-level approach where players will typically focus down the target with Discord on it because you know it takes increased damage. In a way, it does serve as a target. I kind of see a World of Warcraft skull icon in my head. In WoW, you can target different enemies with different icons, and maybe the different icons relate to different things. Typically, the skull means that's the target everybody should be trying to kill. Imagine if you could do that in Overwatch. That might be really cool. It could also be really bad. This is going to add to visual clutter, and that's never really a good thing in Overwatch, because again, that is something they're trying to solve with Overwatch 2, reducing the player count and making the maps bigger. What about knowing when to damage enemy players? Again, this is difficult. Much like pretty much everything else on this list so far, often these problems can be offset with game sense, but it takes essentially years to get to the level of being able to understand all of the intricacies of the game. That's not a bad thing though, as it rewards skill and dedication, but a balance has kind of got to be made here, guys. Overwatch needs to be a fun game, and I guess that needs to take precedent. The good old death ball, goats meta, rush down comps come to mind here. Stack together and rush the enemy. But wait, stacking together can be a very bad idea if the enemy hit you with AoE ultimates. Now, this is really interesting to me because grouping together in Overwatch, the devs have tried to sort of say, no, we don't want you to do this, and we're going to make changes to the game to stop you doing that, because you get together in a big death ball and run forward. It kind of defeats the purpose of Overwatch, but throughout the history of Overwatch, it's become one of the strongest tactics, and the devs have had to make aggressive nerfs to certain heroes. In fact, they maybe even brought in roll queue to prevent that, because a lot of comps at the time, especially tank-heavy comps, were just exactly that, a ton of tanks, and that's maybe not a great place for the game to be in. Anyway, Overwatch 2's PvP is 5v5. The maps are bigger, they promote flanking, they promote individual play. So on paper at least, it looks as if Blizzard have fixed this problem for Overwatch 2, but we won't know until we actually get to play the PvP. Incentivizing group play and team play. Overwatch is 1 billion% better, and that is a fact, ladies and gentlemen, when you play together in a team. Blizzard have tried this with Group Finder to sort of allow like-minded players to group together, but we know that didn't really work. I think it's because it misses a crucial social element, the element of getting to know players or joining a guild or clan. Now, the good news here is leaks during BlizzCon Online 2021 presentation back in February pointed towards guilds or at least clans being a possible inclusion in Overwatch 2. Now, I hope that's true, because imagine being a gold support looking for a tank duo. Maybe there's a gold-focused clan you can join to get to know the players, organize times for grouping and playing together. Overwatch needs a stronger social connection. It should be possible to connect with players in the game instead of being forced to use external apps such as Discord to try and find like-minded players. Ranked rewards are a topic for an entirely separate video, if I'm honest, but we do need to touch on them. We know gold weapons are going, but what incentive will there be to win games of competitive? You can say now the pure incentive is going up in rank, but I do think we need other incentives, because having the highest rank, I mean, that gets boring sometimes. You've got players who are in the top 500, the top 10, the top players in the game. They get bored of playing the game because there's nothing to play for. There should always be something, some type of reward to strive for. The issue with current gold weapons in the game is anyone can attain them, even the worst players, and there is no incentive to win. It just comes down to sheer amount of game played. Sure, if you're in bronze, it's going to take you a hell of a long time to earn a golden weapon, but it is doable if you just keep playing game after game after game after game. That needs to change. Any rewards given for competitive play need to be directly earned through winning games. As for the rewards themselves, maybe things like custom skins, custom weapon skins, custom animated sprays, which we do kind of already get, but I'm talking about really customized ones, really awesome looking sprays, custom voice lines. What about unique highlight intros, unique emotes? You get the idea, right, guys? Toxicity, again, this is something for an entirely separate video, but I honestly believe through implementation of in-game systems that help players understand their role and the game better, will reduce toxic frustration from players who try to help their team, but end up instead shouting and becoming increasingly angry when other players fail to follow them. Not to mention the players doing the shouting might be incorrect as well. Basically, give players more information, help them make better decisions, and it should reduce toxicity. Okay, I'm going to leave it for that in this video. There are some other points which I could have stuffed into this video, but I'm going to leave it to you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think needs to be addressed for Overwatch 2 to be a success. Now, we are specifically talking about the competitive play here. It does extend to quick play as well. Basically, the Overwatch that we play right now, we know we're getting PvE with Overwatch 2, and that's going to be its completely own different thing. We don't know much about that, to be fair, though, beyond what they've shown us in little clips here and there with bits of progression systems and little clips of missions and stuff like that. But we're talking about competitive here. What are the biggest issues Blizzard need to solve for Overwatch 2's competitive? Now, I'm going to prime you guys with some comments here. I haven't touched on the ranking system itself. That is something that needs a hell of a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it. I don't want to spoil comments that you guys might make, but please let me know in the comments below any problems that you think need addressing. But crucially, put forward a solution. It's very easy to just go, this is crap, this is broken, but try and address the problem. So put the problem forward and then try and give a solution. I'm going to read in the comments on this one as well, guys, because I might actually turn these comments into a video as well. All right, guys, thank you for watching the video. I've been Stylosa. You can follow me on everything, which is at Stylosa. On Instagram, on TikTok, it's at StylosaUL. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Toodaloo.